Hey everyone, my name is Corbin Deary. I'm a junior web developer and freshman in college. So our next panel is going to be on decentralized storage with David from Sciatech, Gordon from OrgCloud, Liz from Least Authority, with James and Kurt.
Do we buckle up?
Actually, I wanted the pilot to be here, but we miscalculated, so we have to take him out.
Oh.
Do you guys know why the pilot is here, by the way?
No. To fly the planes?
No, it's to the moon.
Planes don't go to the moon, though.
Should I buckle up?
Yeah, let's buckle up. Where are the seats? Oh, we are sitting in the VIP, so we don't have. Only they get it.
You guys are going down. You're gonna die.
Well, if the pilot was here.
All right, cool. Well, this is the decentralized storage panel. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Gordon, James, David. Really appreciate it. Do you guys want to take like a minute and just introduce yourself? Because have you guys been to LA at a conference before?
Not I.
No, not at a conference.
No, me neither.
Just for fun.
Wow. Okay. Well, why don't we introduce ourselves? And I don't need to do the monitor, so I'll forget myself. But Liz, why don't you start?
Sure. Can everybody hear me okay? It's good? Okay. I'm Liz from Least Authority. We are a company based in Germany now. We originated from the United States. We do secure cloud storage, and we also do security audits. We believe that privacy matters and that security is really important for people. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for doing this panel.
Thank you for coming all the way from Europe.
My name is Gordon Hall, and I'm the author of the ORC project. We are building a decentralized, anonymous object storage network for whistleblowers and activists to communicate safely with journalists and publish content so that it is uncensorable. Thank you.
My name is James Prestwich. I was the co-founder and COO of Storage Labs, working on the storage project, a decentralized object store. Right now I'm doing some general consulting in this space and have a startup that'll be announced in the next couple months.
My name is David Vork, co-founder and CEO of the SIA project, and our goal is to provide a cloud similar to the Amazon cloud, where there is no central party who has power over your data.
Thank you, David. David, why don't we start with you first? So what's the current cost of storage, like if you went to Amazon per gigabyte, I guess, or terabyte?
Yeah, so on Amazon today, if you were to go to and get the bulk rates, I believe you can get 1 terabyte costs $21 per month.
Okay.
And then to download that terabyte at the bulk rate, I believe it costs you $50. This can be compared to the SIA network, where today our prices are about 40 cents per terabyte per month to store. And then to download, it's like 20 cents.
So you're saying $21 per month to down to 40 cents?
That's the market price today on the SIA network, yes.
Wow. Is Amazon scared?
I don't think they know who we are.
Wow.
We're staying underground.
They'll know eventually.
So by the way, how's the traction rates when enterprise or when, let's say, just regular startups look at this pricing scenario and they look like, wow, $21 and down to like pennies. What's the traction rate? Do they instantly jump on it and say like, hey, let me just use this? Or do they have like, hey, is there a catch here? Like what's your like sales cycle look like there?
Yeah, so when we approach what I would call like a more traditional company, so someone who's not like indoctrinated into the blockchain mindset,
right?
There's usually a lot of skepticism, especially in data storage. Your data is, as a company, it's one of your like most sensitive, most critical things that you have. And so companies are very slow to move to a new platform, and especially with only 2 years of deployment, a lot of companies, there's a reason that there are only 3 names, and it's because companies really fall back on the brand and the trust that has been built up. We're here to change that.
Got it. Go ahead, James.
So generally, when you're targeting an enterprise like that for a product like storage, they want to know that you're serving customers at least twice as large as them in aggregate. So they're looking for market validation that you can handle demand of their size, and that's very difficult to get for a startup.
Would you, David, going back to that, if you go to an enterprise customer or a startup, is the conversation more like, what is blockchain, by the way? Or is it more like, yes, I understand it? Has the conversation changed since the last couple of months, years, maybe?
So actually, it's usually not about blockchain at all. It's all about who's storing the data, what's the replication, like how do I know they're not going to disappear tomorrow? And the blockchain just sits in the back.
Got it. Gordon, tell us a little bit more about your project. I know you work at Storage, and now you're starting your own project, and you're in between. So tell us a little bit more, and why does it matter?
Yeah, so I'm also the author of the Storage Protocol, and a few months ago, I always wanted that project to fill a use case that I think that wasn't compatible with a business model or a business model in general. I always wanted to use this technology to help people who really need it. And so most, if not all, of the distributed storage projects that exist today are not anonymous by default. And many of them are not resistant to censorship, as some of them claim to be, by the nature of not being anonymous. And so so Orc is a fork of the version 2 of the storage protocol that has not been merged upstream into storage, so it's kind of standalone on its own now. But it piggybacks on the Tor network, and our primary design goal is anonymity and privacy. Orc is slow. I mean, it just is. And speed, while is not a primary design goal, it's something I think we can improve upon. But the primary goal here is, people's lives hang in the balance, and we need to provide tools that can protect them. And so that's the primary objective for us. We're not concerned necessarily with, we don't have a blockchain, we don't have a token. We're seeking to validate that the technology works and that it can help people now. And then later on, investigate and research whether or not it makes sense to introduce a cryptocurrency into it.
Got it. May I ask the volunteers to come on to the floor and help people, hush their conversations, because it's extremely distracting back here. Can I get some of the volunteers, Scott, Juliana, can we get some volunteers back here to help people move their conversations back to the demo area? Thank you. Liz, tell us about your project.
Yeah, so we're probably more similar to Orc in that we believe that privacy is really important for people.
Right.
So one of the main features that we work with is client-side encryption for people, and also we work towards providing options for anonymity for people. So we do have Tor integration with our project too. And I should clarify that although we are a company, we build our technology off of an open source project called Tahoe Laughs, and it's LAFS, and it's a project that's been a while.
And so David mentioned some pricing there. How does the pricing structure work on your end?
Yeah, so right now, the product that we offer built on Tahoe Laughs, we just offer one price plan, but we're changing that in the short term. But okay. Yeah, I think in terms of pricing, we're a little bit, we're going to be higher than Saya.
Discount, maybe blockchain code discount.
Yeah, it's just the way that the...
Right, so there are a lot of folks out here, there are a lot of startup founders here. If they wanted to leverage the decentralized storage platforms, whether it's Saya or whether it's Storj or Org, what are the things you would recommend them to do? And maybe David, we can start with you. What are the 2 things, 3 things they can do to understand and get over that curve and say like, okay, I'm going to make a choice and these are the options I can use? What would you recommend? I mean, if I was a founder, I see a lot of these choices and then I see Amazon. How would you convince me to not go to Amazon?
Yeah, so I think that at least with Saya and Orc, and I can't speak about lease authority, but I know that these projects are much earlier, and that they fit specific use cases and come with, I guess, like early adopter risk. And so I would, right now with our early platform, our big focus is developers and enthusiasts and people who are really passionate about the core of decentralized storage. And so we really want to use that as sort of our like, I guess, training ground for the platform, so that we can iron out all the early stage stuff that comes with building a complicated distributed system. So I would actually, probably counsel startups today. It should be on their radar, and they should be aware of what the advantages are. But I also think that if it's like a mission critical thing for you, at least on the blockchain side, I don't think any project is really there yet.
James?
So my advice for entrepreneurs is if you insist on building something on Saya or storage or IPFS right now, hedge your bets. Have a backup plan. None of these things work really great right now. None of us have caught up to Amazon in terms of services, reliability, stability. Have a backup plan, hedge your bets, don't make it critical to your platform yet.
So James, right there on that topic, when do you think it will become ready for critical infrastructure?
This is an ongoing process. It's really hard to tell. In the blockchain space, you have the first 80% of development, and then you have the second 80% of development. And then once it's released, you have the third 80% and the fourth. We're going to be building this over the next several years. The Bitcoin itself has seen an 8-year adoption curve, and still most people have not heard of it. So it's going to be a very long time before these are used widely in production.
So I should buckle up.
I know that for Saya, on our production roadmap, certain use cases, such as like disaster recovery and data backup, are going to be ready long before other use cases like, say, CDN or say, like content distribution. And so I think that depending on where your storage needs fall, Saya might be a reasonable option for you as early as like 6 months. And then if you're on the more like high speed, careful data placement end of things, it might be more like 12, 18, 24 months.
The really notable exception here is Tahoe Laughs, which has been out in the wild for, I think, close to a decade now.
Yeah, the first commits were made about a decade ago. Yeah, so Tahoe Laughs has been in development for that long. So this is where we're a bit different. It's a project that's been solidly developed for those years. I think though, so now we're focusing more on how do we allow masses of people to utilize this really great technology that we have.
How about you, Gordon?
I don't remember the original question.
Well, the original question was if you have a founder who wants to leverage this, what are the things that they can do and go forward with it?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo James's sentiment for sure. Hedge your bets, and find. What I've seen is there's a lot of these storage projects are trying to, have the shotgun effect. They're trying to just replace, the cloud, and what we're seeing is problems with scaling in general with those platforms. So, if you're looking to either, start a storage project or invest in one, be hyper focused on a use case. Figure out what exactly it is that you're trying to solve, and then identify which of the projects aim to solve that the best. Because we work better when we're hyper-focused on specific problems instead of trying to solve everything at once. So,
yeah, this is really important within the distributed storage, cloud storage space.
Right.
Go ahead.
So what would the top 3 use cases be? Let's say I've worked with Universal and Disney. Can I say that any one of these, and they have massive music files, video files, is that a use case that they can readily utilize today and reduce their cost from $21 per month down to maybe like 40 cents?
So on Saya today, I'd say that the use case we're most ready for is personal data backups, which could include music and videos, but like I'm thinking more in terms of like hard drives. So if your whole computer tends to be a decent amount of data. Some people 0.5 terabyte, some people 2 or 3 terabytes. And that builds up if you're using something like Dropbox or Amazon. But Saya is, it's slower, but then it's there for you, and you can, for the backup use case, I think that makes sense today.
Got it. So personal backup. James, what do you think?
Personal backup is a really good use case. When you talk about personal backup, you're targeting a completely different set of companies. You're targeting Box, Dropbox, Mozy, CrashPlan, that kind of thing. And the pricing model for those is very different from Amazon, but Saya still might be able to compete there as well. Typically, you do like a $5 unlimited plan or something like that. Personal backup's a great use case. Secure long-term storage is a good use case right now.
Okay.
Separate from backup.
Gordon or Liz?
80% of the data that goes to the cloud goes there to rot, and it's a huge waste. So I think for me, the primary use case that we're focused on is making the data available and being able to be transmitted, and then put on another computer. Once it's been distributed, at that point, a flash drive in a safe is the most secure way to store anything. And so, we should really be mindful about, we're trying to optimize and make more efficient, the cloud. But we're still bound by the same problems where we're just dumping a bunch of data up there and never going to access it again, which is good, and which is, so why long-term backup or archival storage is a good use case if you have critical data that needs to be, protected or kept around. But how many people actually on a daily basis go and dig into their Dropbox, their hard drive backup? Like, how frequently do you access that? And the answer is only in disaster. So I don't know. We think we should be mindful of that.
Yeah, sorry, Liz. A lot of cloud storage is never accessed again because it's there in case of disasters. For companies, it's there in case there's a legal requirement to retrieve it and look at it. For individuals, it's there in case your computer crashes. It's true that 80% of it's never accessed, but that's because 80% of the time everybody's happy.
I think there's another 2 use cases that we also have been looking at that are very related, but there is the long-term storage, but there's also the wanting to have some data out in the cloud that's synced between devices that you can access from different locations and things. And so we're looking at that kind of data that you might access twice a week. So maybe not every single day, but you want it to be conveniently there and between different devices. And then to add to that, to have the privacy aspects on that too, which is that that some corporation is not mining your data, so you feel more comfortable putting out your sensitive health documents or some information about yourself that you would prefer that other people weren't reading, and which we all have. But so that's another use case to add on there, is just being a little bit more aware of the privacy features of current cloud storage.
Got it. You mentioned data privacy. So how does that work? I mean, EU rules are completely different from on this side of the continent. I mean, how does that work, or is that not an issue at all?
Yeah, so Saya has 2 approaches to data privacy, and I do want to distinguish quickly between privacy and anonymity. So Saya will protect your data in the sense that no one can access it and no one can tell what you're storing. However, we don't have anonymity in the sense that people will generally know that it's you who is storing that data, and though they can't see it, if they suspect something about it, there's nothing to hide behind. So it's definitely a very different use case from what Orc does. And so for very, very sensitive things in oppressed regions, I just want to caution that privacy and anonymity are very different. But in Saya, what we do is first we encrypt all the data. Your data gets spread across generally around 50 machines, and every machine has data which is encrypted with separate keys. So any sort of collaboration, or even if 1 or 2 of the keys is compromised, nothing can happen to that data. And then the second thing is that one of the more unique features of the Saya protocol is the ability to blacklist hosts and even whitelist hosts. And so when it comes to things like EU privacy laws, where you're restricted to hosting only on machines in the EU, you can actually go and set up Saya. You can include some configuration options that will keep your data compliant with the law. So we do take that seriously.
Got it. And that's kind of like on the other end, and you're on the other end, right, Gordon? So
yeah, we have no way to enforce or know where the data is being stored. That's just the nature of the network. So the problem to echo David's point about the difference between anonymity and privacy, if there's an adversary who's able to know, the destination, the sender and the destination of some controversial content, they have an opening to censor that data, whether it's through a denial of service attack or what have you. And so in this case, if I'm a whistleblower and I want to make some data, some content available to a wide audience, if you don't have the anonymity in this type of network, then it creates you can very quickly eliminate, and create a small surface area for attack to censor or to deny service to where that data is. Even if it can't be read or even if it can't be, decrypted, it can still be denied service to. So it's really important for our use case to maintain that anonymity so that it becomes very difficult for any one party to censor the data. And if in the ORC network, objects continuously rebuild and they're continuously audited. And so once certain pieces of the data have been deemed to go offline or have been censored or the node is gone, the objects rebuild and then redistribute. So data is constantly in flux on the ORC network, and that's a product of its resistance to censorship.
let's talk about resources. Do you guys have the resources it needs to build what you guys are building, or do you guys need help?
Help.
How much help, Gordon?
We're a volunteer-run network, and so we're sponsored by a hackerspace that we established a couple of years ago, a nonprofit hackerspace. And so, at this point, we have developers, volunteer developers. We don't get paid. We do this because we love it. But it would really be nice if we could get paid. And donations are tax deductible to us. So if you believe in what we're doing and you want to help us, the two things that you can do are run a node and also make a charitable donation. And that's really the help that we need right now.
So run a node and make a charitable donation. And where are you located right now?
Just outside of Atlanta, Georgia.
Got it.
I would argue that all of these projects need lots of help until our projects are easily usable by everybody who wants to use them. We need help.
Have you thought of doing a TGE or token generation event? We don't call them ICOs anymore, sorry. I have to call it TGEs.
That was the advice that I have gotten pretty consistently was, why don't you just do an ICO? We will not do an ICO, probably never. Regardless of whether or not we have a token, the ORC project will never have an ICO, plain and simple.
Got it. David, how does that compare to yours? Because I know you did one, and from a resourcing standpoint, how are you?
So we did an ICO in 2014,
right.
or a TGE.
Before it was cool.
And we raked in a record not-breaking $100,000. Since then, we've done 2 equity rounds, which has pulled in another $1 million. So on the development front, we have the resources to keep a small team funded for the next year at least. And I do want to say, though, in terms of help, I think that what we're trying to build with Saya is really more ideologically motivated. It's not like the cheap storage is a benefit, but what we really care about is, it makes me nervous to look at the internet and see when, AWS went down for like an hour or something a couple months ago, and people couldn't turn on the lights in their home. There were smart lights that couldn't turn on, and I think Amazon runs something like 40% of the websites on the internet, and it's uncomfortable to think about how much power Amazon and Google, Google running Gmail, have over the rest of us. And I think that we want to build a culture of people who know what they're doing and know what the stakes are and recognize like the deeper reasons to use the platform. So in terms of help, I think that we would really like to see our community grow, both in terms of numbers, but also in terms of depth of knowledge.
And how can they do that? I mean, do they go onto your site and sign up, or they make a phone call to you, text?
Yeah. So the home for the Saya community is discord.gg/Saya. That's SIA, and we're very welcoming. We love new people, and we have probably 100 or 200 people who would just happily dive into a conversation about anything blockchain that's on your mind. And we'd love to see you there.
We have just a few minutes. Does anybody have any question for David, James, Gordon, or Liz? Anybody wants to come up, I can give you the mic. You can ask a question. Any one of the developers?
Can I do the plug too?
Sure, go for it. Oh, yeah.
Just to let people know, so there's Tahoe Labs, Tahoe, TAHOE-LAFS.org, and that's for the open source project if you want to go look and contribute there. And then there's also leastauthority.com if you want to sign up for a paid service.
Thank you, Liz. All right, I think that wraps up this panel. Thank you, David. Thank you, James. Thank you, Gordon. Thank you, Liz. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you.
It's the law. You got to buckle up.
No, I did.